Hello, everyone, and welcome to Campfire Watch, the final day of the Microsoft Entra Suite Summer Camp. I'm Laura Virango, Product Marketing Manager on the Microsoft Entra team, and it's been a blast being your host throughout this week of Summer Camp. We've had a packed week of sessions covering key scenarios for the Microsoft Entra Suite. If you missed any of our previous sessions, you can now view them on demand. Throughout this week, we followed how Violet, a newly promoted finance manager at Woodgrove Bank, has had secure access to all resources she needs for her new role. Today, we're joined by my fellow campers, Vincent and Mohammed, to highlight how the Microsoft Entra Suite allows Woodgrove Bank to detect shadow AI usage and protect Violet's internet access. Just like our other sessions this week, we will host a live Campfire side chat at the end of the webinar. If you have any questions come up throughout the session, please leave them in the comments and we'll answer them at the end. Before we jump into today's demos, let me provide a really quick recap of the Microsoft Entra Suite for those that may have missed the previous sessions. The Microsoft Entra Suite is a complete zero-trust access solution that empowers your workforce to securely connect to any cloud or on-premise app, resource, or AI within your corporate network or from the open internet. The Microsoft Entra Suite includes 5 deeply integrated products. First, private access, our zero-trust network access solution. Internet access, our identity-centric secure web gateway. ID governance, our IGA solution. ID protection, our machine learning-based identity threat protection. And lastly, verified ID, our privacy-respecting identity verification. Throughout our sessions this week, we showcased new features now available in Microsoft Entra. If you'd like to learn more, be sure to check out our new Microsoft Security blog, linked here. Now, I'll pass it over to fellow camper Vincent to showcase how the Microsoft Entra Suite allows you to discover shadow AI and protect internet access.
Thanks, Laura. I'm Vincent Manna, the Product Marketing Manager for SASE Solution on the Microsoft Entra team, and I'm joined here with Mohammed. Let's talk about something we're all seeing more of, AI tools showing up everywhere in the workplace. According to Microsoft's 2024 Work Trend Index, 75% of knowledge workers are already using generative AI on the job. But the catch? A lot of that usage is happening outside of IT's visibility. That's where Microsoft Entra Suite steps in. Today, we'll walk through how the Microsoft Entra Suite gives you precise, policy-based control over internet access, whether it's SaaS apps, GenAI tools, or anything in between. At the center of this is Microsoft Entra Internet Access. It's part of Microsoft's SSC solution, and it ensures users can safely connect to any internet resource, no matter where they are or what device they're using. Think of it like your internet camp counselor, checking IDs at every turn, enforcing policy at the edge, and keeping your team safe as they explore the web. In our last session, we followed Violet, a finance manager at Woodgrove Bank, and she worked on a financial report. Today, she's back. This time, trying to use a GenAI tool called DeepSeek to do some market research. But Woodgrove has policies in place to block unapproved GenAI tools. So when Violet tries to access DeepSeek, she's stopped and guided to use an AI tool that has been reviewed and approved by IT. Here's what it looks like from Violet's point of view. She opens Chrome and tries to visit DeepSeek, but the request is blocked. A message pops up explaining that access to this GenAI tool is restricted by the company policy. To move forward, Violet needs to use an approved alternative. She heads to My Access, selects an access package, and gets just-in-time access to ChatGPT, automatically approves for 6 hours. Just enough time to finish her task. The access is granted through Microsoft's Entra Entitlement Management, which ensures it's time-bound, auditable, and policy-driven. Now that she's cleared, Violet visits ChatGPT.com and gets to work. To speed up her analysis, she tries uploading a spreadsheet with internal revenue projections. But just as the upload begins, Netscope's inline DLP engine, integrated with Entra Internet Access, inspects the file in real time. It flags the document since it contains confidential finance data and blocks the upload before it ever leaves the browser. Violet gets a clear message, and that's how Entra helps protect sensitive data without disrupting the flow of work. Now, I'm going to hand it over to Mohammed.
Thanks, Vincent. Hi, everyone. My name is Mohammed Zmaili, and I'm a product manager on the Microsoft Entra. Let's take a look on how we set this up from the admin side with the Microsoft Entra Suite. To start, Woodgrove needs a way to enforce consistent protection across the organization, especially when it comes to high-risk categories like GenAI. That's where baseline web content filtering comes in. It's important that users and their data are protected from high-risk categories like GenAI is tightly controlled. Using Microsoft Entra Internet Access, Woodgrove configure a baseline security profile that includes web content filtering policies. These policies block access to risky destinations like crypto mining sites, newly registered domains, uncategorized sites, and in this case, GenAI platforms like DeepSeek. This setup ensures that all users are protected by default, while still allowing access to trusted destinations. At the next step, let's make sure Internet Access has deeper visibility into encrypted traffic. While encrypting Internet traffic is essential for secure modern networking, it also means threats can hide inside that encrypted stream. Transport Layer Security, or TLS, is the protocol used to encrypt traffic over the Internet. TLS termination is the process of decrypting the protocol at the global secure access edge. Woodgrove Bank uses Microsoft Entra Internet Access to do just that. Let's walk through how to set this up. As we can see here, we've created a certificate for TLS termination. This allows Microsoft Entra to decrypt and intercept traffic securely. Next, let's create a TLS inspection policy. Last, let's link the policy to security profile. Now, TLS inspection is active for all users governed by the baseline profile. Now that TLS inspection is enabled, Woodgrove can go beyond just blocking known threats. It can also uncover hidden risks like unauthorized use of generative AI tools. This is where shadow AI and IT discovery comes in. This visibility is possible because TLS inspection decrypts the traffic, allowing Entra to recognize and classify GenAI usage, even when it's encrypted. In addition to the baseline security profile we configured before, Woodgrove wants to ensure that certain users can still access specific GenAI tools like ChatGPT, even though the baseline profile prevents it. We can create another profile with all policies in the baseline profile and add the ChatGPT as an exception role. That way, we are all still blocking GenAI traffic unless it is to ChatGPT. To secure this access, we configure a conditional access policy that will allow users to access the site if they have no or low sign-in risk. If they have medium or high, they will be blocked. It's important that access to GenAI tools like ChatGPT through the security profile is tightly governed. While these tools can boost productivity, they also introduce risk of data exfiltration, prompt injection, and regularity compliance risks. To strike that right balance, Woodgrove uses Microsoft Entra's identity governance to configure just-in-time access for ChatGPT limited to finance users and only for a specific period of time. To do this, we'll use Identity Governance Entitlement Management's Access Package feature to define who can request access to the group, how long the access is for, and other advanced settings. In this case, we have set it to grant violet access for 6 hours. Now that we've seen how Woodgrove uses Microsoft Entra Internet Access to enforce baseline web filtering and enable deep visibility with TLS inspection, let's take it a step further. I'll show you how to set up integrated data loss prevention powered by Netscope to protect sensitive data in real time. Let's walk through the process together. In the Entra Admin Center, I'll open up the Data Loss Prevention Policies tab to see the DLP policy. In the Policy tab, we can select which actions to block. Netscope supports granular controls, so you can tailor this to your organization's needs. For this example, we have selected both PCI and PII data. With the policy created, I'll link it to a security profile. Under the Finance Department profile, we can link that Netscope DLP policy. From the Policy Name menu, I'll select the policy I just created. I'll leave the position and state at their defaults and click Add. And that's it. With these steps, WithGroove ensures that sensitive data, like financial reports or personal information, cannot be accidentally or intentionally uploaded to risky destinations. Netscope's inline DLP engine intercepts traffic in real time, blocking unauthorized uploads and downloads before data ever leaves the browser session. This helps WithGroove stays compliant, prevent data exfiltration, and reduce risk without slowing down productivity. Lastly, let's talk about how WithGroove proactively blocks access to known malicious destinations using threat intelligence filtering. This capability is critical for defending against phishing, malware, command and control attacks, and more. With threat intelligence filtering in Microsoft Entra Internet Access, WithGroove can automatically block access to dangerous domains and URLs using real-time threat data that's always up to date. At any given moment, Entra is evaluating between 400K and 1 million threat indicators, ensuring that every decision is based on the most current threat landscape. Let's walk through how to set this up. Step 1. Create a threat intelligence policy. First, in the Entra Admin Center, I'll navigate to Global Secure Access, then select Secure tab and click on Threat Intelligence. Here, I'll click Create Policy. On the basic screen, I'll give the policy a name. Let's call it Block High Severity Threats and add a description if needed. By default, threat intelligence policies are created with a rule that blocks high severity threats. These are domains and URLs that Microsoft's threat intelligence has determined are safe to automatically block. I'll review the settings and click Create. Step 2. Link the threat intelligence policy to the baseline profile. Next, I'll navigate to Security Profiles. I'll switch to Baseline Profile tab and click Edit Profile. In the Link Policies view, I'll click Link a Policy, then select Existing Threat Intelligence Policy. From the list, I'll choose the policy I just created and click Add. Now, all new network transactions through Internet access will be evaluated against this threat intelligence policy. Now that we've set up a threat intelligence policy, let's see how it protects violates from a common attack scenarios. Back to you, Vincent.
Great. Thanks, Mohammed. Let's pick back up with Violet's story. An external attacker has quietly set up a remote command and control, or C2, server at IP address 1234. These attackers use C2 servers to remotely deliver instructions to compromised devices, often as part of a broader malware campaign. After distributing the malware across multiple devices globally, the attacker waits. Unfortunately, Violet's device becomes one of the infected devices. Once the malware activates, it begins phoning home to the C2 server, establishing a covert communication channel that allows the attacker to issue commands in real time. The malware starts executing commands, exfiltrating sensitive corporate data and working to stay under the radar. But it doesn't stop there. The situation escalates when the C2 server instructs Violet's device to spread the infection across her corporate network. Soon, additional devices are compromised, collaborating to steal data, further spread the malware, and execute the attacker's commands. Here's where Microsoft Entra steps in. As the malware continues to make requests to the C2 service, Microsoft Threat Intelligence takes notice and adds the new indicator to Global Secure Access's Threat Intelligence database. Within minutes, all outbound traffic attempting to connect to the attacker's C2 server from devices secured by Global Secure Access are proactively blocked, immediately severing the attacker's control. From that point forward, any device routing traffic through Global Secure Access, whether on-premises or remote, is automatically protected from accessing this malicious domain. Meanwhile, in the Microsoft Entra Admin Center, security teams gain immediate visibility into the incident. They can quickly trace outbound traffic patterns, pinpoint suspicious destinations, and detect policy violations directly linked to compromised devices. This rich telemetry empowers the Security Operations Center to launch a fast, coordinated, and effective incident response. To wrap up today's session, let's revisit the journey we took together through Violet's experience and how Microsoft Entra Suite helps her stay secure. We saw how Violet attempted to access DeepSeek for market research, but because it was classified as high risk, access was blocked. Instead, she was guided through a just-in-time access flow to request ChatGPT, enabled through Microsoft Entra's identity governance. That access was time-bound, policy-driven, and auditable. When she tried to upload a confidential file, it was blocked by the Netscope One Advanced Data Loss Prevention integration. Later, thanks to threat intelligence filtering, a C2 attack was blocked by Microsoft Entra Internet Access. Her security team had full visibility into the encrypted traffic, allowing them to detect and respond in real time without compromising Violet's productivity. Now that we've wrapped up the demo, let's connect what we just saw to the broader value Microsoft Entra Suite delivers. The features we explored, like Shadow AI discovery, TLS inspection, and threat intelligence filtering, aren't just technical wins. They're strategic enablers that help organizations reduce risk, simplify operations, and modernize access in a way that drives real business impact. Earlier this week, we released the Total Economic Impact, TEI, of the Microsoft Entra Suite, which quantified that the suite delivers a 131% ROI over 3 years. That's not just a number. It's a reflection of what happens when you consolidate fragmented tools into a unified platform that's built for zero trust. The capabilities we showcase today are the mechanisms behind those outcomes. They're how organizations move from reactive to proactive, from siloed to unified, and from complexity to clarity. That's the power of the Microsoft Entra Suite. If you're ready to take the next step in your zero trust journey, our amazing teams here at Microsoft and our partners are here to help you unlock these benefits with Microsoft Entra Suite and provide deployment support across every step of your journey. And now, we'll pass it back to Laura to wrap up summer camp.
Thank you, Vincent and Mohammed, for showcasing how the Microsoft Entra Suite allowed Woodgrove Bank to discover Shadow AI and protect Violet's internet access. Let's review a few Entra Suite resources before we dive into Q&A. I highly recommend checking out our new Quick Start Guide for actionable steps to secure internet access. You can also get started with a free trial of the Microsoft Entra Suite right away and learn more about its benefits and value in its new Forrester Total Economic Impact study. As a final reminder, all the previous sessions for summer camp are now available on demand at the links here on screen. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us for summer camp this week. And now, let's get your questions answered in our final Campfire side chat. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for our final Campfire side chat. We really, we really hope you enjoyed today's session. Just some housekeeping before we get into it. If you have any questions you'd like to ask us, please visit this AKA link, aka.ms/campquestions/ let's wait for it to come through, protect internet access. And with that, let's first do a round of introductions. Again, I'm Laura Virengo. I'm a product marketing manager on the Microsoft Entra team. I'll pass it over to Mohammed.
Thank you, Laura. So my name is Mohammed Zmeili, and I'm a product manager in Identity and Network Access team. I help customers all over the world to deploy Entra Suite, and I'm really excited and happy with you all today. I'll hand it over to Martin.
Thanks, Mohammed. My name is Martin. I'm a product manager like Mohammed, and I also work with customers all over the world, making sure that they can deploy and love all of these features. And over to you, Vincent.
Hello, everyone. I am the product marketing manager for Microsoft SASE solution. Work very closely with Laura to really ensure we demonstrate the real value of the Entra Suite.
Awesome. Now to kick it off with the first question, this is for Mohammed. Why would I want to combine my secure web gateway or internet access with my identity management?
Well, thanks, Laura. This is actually a great question. So combining secure web gateway with identity management, this ensures that internet and cloud application policies are enforced based on who the user is, not just only what are the devices they are coming from or what is the network they are on. So this combines user identity, location, device posture, and security risk signals to make smarter and real-time access decisions. So you as an admin can centralize and simplify security policy management by tying web filtering, application access, and identity policies together. So that this identity integration gives you as an admin the visibility and the ability into knowing who's accessing what, when, and why as well. Not only just IP addresses or devices. So all of this achieves zero trust posture in your organization. For those who don't know what are zero trust principles, they are assume breach, use least privilege, and verify explicitly as long as users are connecting to the service.
Awesome. And kind of to maybe go off that, Martin, can you give us maybe a little bit of an overview of how Microsoft Entra helps you unify that identity and network access?
Yeah, no, definitely. So the beauty of the Entra Suite is combining all of this functionality in one place through our conditional access engine. That conditional access engine gives you the ability to combine all of your policies in one place for the IT administrator to know that you've configured everything correctly. So whether you're using the private access, there was yesterday's session or today's session in internet access, or even some of the other security principles that you want to implement in your environment, everything is configured in one place with the conditional access engine. So this allows you to have that peace of mind, making sure that you have all your configuration set up and all the different nuances of security and exceptions in one place that you can evaluate. You don't have to go to multiple systems and look at what is configured in that other system. Is this other system actually allowing a backdoor for some of my users? Or is this other system more restrictive? You know that everything is in one place through your conditional access policy engine, and that unified view gives you the ability to sleep better at night, but also make sure that your environment is secure.
Awesome. Okay, another question we've gotten in the chat is, I noticed there were risk scores for Shadow AI discovery feature. Can you tell me more about that?
Sure. I could jump in on this one. So great eye. The risk scores you're seeing, to preface, are first, it's an extension of the Microsoft Defender for Apps app catalog experience, and we service them through that application insights and analytics dashboard. So you don't need a separate Defender subscription to actually use this feature. And for the risk scoring capability itself, each discovered app is evaluated across, I believe, more than 90 factors, security, compliance, legal, general attributes. And these scores really help admins understand the maturity and the risk level of each app and really guide that decision on whether to sanction it, monitor it, or just block it.
Awesome. Next, let's talk about one of the features we saw in the demo. Someone asked, if we use ID governance with internet access, what is the process for users requesting access to specific apps?
Yeah, I'll take that one, Laura. So obviously, you want to make sure that not only do you implement all the rules in your conditional access policies, your web filtering policies, your security profiles correctly, but you want to make sure that you govern the access that users have over time. Like the example in the demo, you see that our user, Violet, needed access for a short amount of time. And the way that you enable that is through access packages. So you set up an access package and you onboard the applications that they will get access to through that access package. And then they can request access to that application for a short period. Maybe you want to make it longer or shorter or something like that. It could be hours, it could be days, for them to do their job. And then obviously they will go and do their work and eventually automatically lose that access. And this is all up to the administrator to decide how they want to configure this. They can make it as long as possible or as short as they want it to be, so that this is not standing access. The problem today with a lot of organizations is people collect access. They start at their job and they collect access and they get added to this group and to another group and so on and so on. And through the period of time, they just become the super user. And this doesn't meet zero trust principles, because you want to always try and ensure least privilege access. You want to make sure that people only have access to elements that they really need. And so through governing those accesses through access package, you can say, I'm going to give you only access for that time. And then if you need more access, you can extend it if you want to allow that, or you can say you have to apply again to get that access. Also, in some cases, you may want to set up an access review. So when you give somebody access to that application, you will say on a regular basis, I'm going to review who's got access to that application, and I want to then kick some people out and say, you don't need this access anymore. I'm going to remove you from the access, and therefore I'm keeping this clean, and people don't accumulate all these different permissions and groups over time, which becomes a real problem for IT administrators to govern. And then by giving people just the access that they need, you keep things clean and you can sleep better because things are so secure in your environment.
Awesome. Okay, moving on to our next question. I know we featured a lot of new features that had just come out this week. Can we quickly review if all the ones that we demoed are included in the suite? Are there any prerequisites to using these features or other licensing that organizations would have to get to use them?
Yeah. So to start with the Shadow AI and IT discoverability feature, which you'll see in the portal as application insights and analytics. That feature and the threat intelligence filtering are all included in the Entra Suite or Entra Internet Access offering. The one different one is the Netscope ATP and DLP integration, which will require an additional per user per month purchase via our marketplace. So that price is to be determined and will be available in GA.
Awesome. Okay, next question is thinking about user risk as is a challenging thing for us. How should we consider this when setting up our policies? Can this user risk dynamically change over time?
So maybe I can take that one. So as you know, user risks is constantly changing. And this means today a user risk might be low, but tomorrow a user risk could be high because of different things, like, for example, impossible travel or malware on their devices or even leaked credentials. So you as an admin, you want your policies to dynamically change when a user risk is changing as well. So also you can be proactive by implementing smarter security controls, like, for example, blocking or restricting user access to sensitive websites by triggering multi-factor authentication, or even requiring them to change their passwords. So by considering user risk, you can prevent credential phishing, data exfiltration, and lateral movement. And at the end of the day, instead of blocking everyone aggressively, you can apply strict controls only when needed.
Perfect. Going back to what we saw in the demo, we configured the web content filtering policies. Someone in the chat asked, for example, or can we configure multiple web content filtering policies? For example, we want to block social media sites for all employees except for the marketing team.
Yeah, no, that is something that we get from a lot of customers. You don't want to have these blanket policies that just applies to everybody. So you can absolutely have different policies for different departments in your organization. So the way you saw this in the demo is we have a baseline policy that applies to everybody. So everybody gets the baseline policy, and you can even have some exceptions in your baseline policy. So you may want to say, I'm going to block social media for everybody in the organization, but this is a professional company. We may want to allow people to go to LinkedIn because they can get some leads or something like that. So you can exclude a specific website in your baseline policy for all your users. So you don't have to just block everybody on all social media sites. But then you can go one step further and give people specific groups access to specific websites as well, or social media sites, so that they can do their jobs. And so you use a great example of maybe marketing. So marketing may want to go and on X and tweet something, or they may want to go and start a new campaign on YouTube, upload some videos. So that is their job. We cannot deny them that access. And so we can definitely set up a security profile for the security marketing group and then implement that through the conditional access policies and allow them that exception. And as you've seen, we can now take that one step further and say, not only are we going to differentiate you through group, but we're also going to differentiate this through time. And we're going to give you a certain amount of access to a certain amount of users for a certain amount of time. So you can just see how granular you can get. This is no all or nothing situation. You can definitely set up all sorts of ways to allow exceptions and also fit this to all your business needs to make sure your users are still productive and they can do their jobs while you are protecting your organization.
Awesome. Thank you, Martin. As a reminder, these questions are amazing. If you have additional questions you'd like to ask our campers, please leave them at aka.ms/campquestions/protect-internet-access. Now for the next question. Vincent, I think your mention of Netscope has some interesting follow-ups. How does the Netscope integration with the Entra Suite work? Will new features continue to be developed for this area?
Yeah, sure. So I guess to kind of lay the foundation, Entra provides that strong foundation with conditional access. It's the core of that zero trust access engine. But we also recognize that many organizations should be offered that flexibility to get those best of breed capabilities. And that's kind of where the Netscope integration sparked. With Microsoft Entra, you get Netscope's threat protection and data loss prevention capabilities available as part of that Entra Suite experience. So you get real-time threat protection, DLP enforcement, and it's all unified within the Entra portal. It's pretty awesome. So we're currently in public preview right now. There will definitely be more enhancements on the way, and I'm really excited for everyone to check it out.
Awesome. Next question, maybe for Martin. Someone says, we already use Defender for Endpoint today. What does Internet Access add? Do their web filtering policies work together, or will there be conflicts?
Yeah, so this is, again, something that a lot of customers brought up to us, that we have this product, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, which is an excellent product for all your devices. But you have to think about this problem in multiple ways. So you have your devices that you want to protect, but you also want to protect all the places that people want to go to. So at the end of the day, this boils down to a defense in depth situation. You want to protect devices from doing the right thing and not reaching out to those examples that you saw in the demo. cutting them off from their access, but you also want to prevent those devices, new devices that are not infected, that could be infected, to also connect to malicious site in the first place. So this is really a way of protecting all your bases. Defense in depth, that's the key. You want to make sure that you protect all those different areas, and that devices are protected, the cloud entries that you may connect to is also protected, and therefore you have multiple ways of making sure that the users is not going to connect to those malicious websites. So this is very important for administrators to not just rely on one technology and hope that technology will save them. This gives you multiple ways of saving a bad situation.
Thank you, Martin. To kind of follow up on that, you mentioned the malicious sites. How does Microsoft know that a site is considered malicious? And is there any way for an organization to perhaps override what is considered a malicious site?
So in terms of our malicious sites, so we have our internal department that is constantly looking for these malicious sites. So this is a huge part of Microsoft. We gather this information on the behalf of all of our IT organizations out there. And so we go and find these things so that you don't need to go and find them. So this is where we built in that capacity on our side to ensure that your users don't have to go and stumble onto the dark web and find these things. So we are working with law enforcement. We are working with other teams across the web. We have lots of good partnerships to protect organizations. And then we bring all of that information to our cloud solution, and that you benefit from those cloud, from that. But if you stumble upon something that you want to protect your organization, that may be unique to your environment, nothing stops you from uploading that URL, blocking that URL, and setting that as a policy in your side to block that from your users so that they won't be able to connect those things. So you can also add those things. But I must say that's quite a rare occurrence that you might find something in your organization that we don't find, but you can definitely block anything that is not currently blocked by Microsoft. And then you can report it so that Microsoft will, if it's malicious, then update their systems.
Awesome. Thank you.
And in addition to that, Laura, if I may, so let's say one of the websites has been flagged for a threat using our threat intelligence, right? So for false positive. And if me as an admin, I confirm this website is safe to be allowed for our users to access, I can do this. So for false positive, as an admin, I can go to Microsoft Entra Internet Access, Threat Intelligence, and I can do this override and allow that website, which was incorrectly classified for a malicious website, just in case.
A great call out. Speaking of threat intelligence filtering, can we talk a little bit more about it, give some details? Where can we send organizations that want to learn more about the new feature?
Sure. I could jump in here. Yeah, we are pumped about this feature. I mean, this is built on the same kind of intelligence that powers, I believe, Azure Firewall, Azure Front Door, Bing Ads. I mean, it's evaluating like 1 million indicators at once in real time, blocking access to these malicious URLs, malicious threats, malicious domains. We definitely have more info on the way. You can check it out at our blog, aka.ms/Entra Internet Access/Summer Camp Blog. And just one more time, aka.ms, Entra Internet Access/Summer Camp Blog. Oh, I see it's down below right there. But more documentation and resources will definitely be available once the feature enters public preview. But for now, you can find some details in that blog.
Awesome, very exciting new feature. Another feature that we covered in the demo, we just got a question on, is how does TLS inspection work with internet access, and why is it important to be enabled?
Yeah, so TLS inspection is basically really important fundamental feature that allows a lot of this functionality to light up. TLS is one of those features that is built into your browser. It's how we secure the internet through the connection from the device all the way to the website. That's called transport layer security. That's how we encrypt the internet. So this is a standard that's been established for a long time now, and it encrypts everything. But because it encrypts anything, and this was actually in the demo that you saw earlier, it is also a way for organizations to get around a lot of things, because if you're somewhere in the middle, you can't see what's going on. You can't see what people are downloading. You can't see what people are accessing. And you may want to see those things to protect your organization. And this is when we introduce this concept of TLS inspection. What this does is it actually terminates the TLS connection or that tunnel in the middle. So your browser connects to our service, and that is encrypted. And then we unencrypt on that point and connect back to the website that you want to connect to. And because we are in the middle and we've unencrypted this, we can inspect some of the information about that. So we can look at downloads, we can look at URLs, we can look at things that you are typing. So if you want to share something with a unapproved AI system, then we can see all of those things. And this will allow you to go and protect your organization so that you don't leak your data and you don't download malicious websites. Those things or executables or programs, malicious code from websites. If that was encrypted all the way from the website to the device, there was no way for anything in between to protect you. The only opportunity that you get to protect the device was on the device itself. But through TLS inspection, you have that ability to look at the information and then say, okay, this is a good site or not. Or it can even be less threatening, where you have to say, okay, I don't want people to play games at work. And so some websites have like news, but they also have games. And you may want to allow them to go to the news websites, but not play the games on that website. And so you can do that type of thing with TLS inspection. So to prevent people from being less productive, let's just say that. And so that's the whole beauty of TLS inspection is that ability to just peek inside what's going on in the traffic. And we all support the traffic that when it's encrypted, so that you can only it's all still trusted by the client. The way that this is implemented, and you saw how Mohammed showed that certificate that was uploaded into the system, and that makes sure that everything is still encrypted on the internet, and it doesn't compromise your privacy.
Awesome.
And the interesting thing, if I may add as well to what Martin has highlighted, when talking about Microsoft Internet Access or Global Secure Access in specific, we are bringing this functionality to the network layer. So in addition to the application layer, we are adding this to the network layer. So for example, if the application that we are using, whatever the application that we are protecting by whatever service that we are protecting, if this has been missed, then the network layer is going to capture this using the power of our global secure access and Microsoft Entra Internet Access.
Yeah, great call out. I like how this all ties back to what Martin was talking about earlier about the defense in depth approach. So with that, we have no additional questions. So what we could do is maybe everyone can offer some final advice for organizations looking to get started with the Entra Suite and with internet access. Maybe let's start with you, Mohammed.
Sure, definitely. So I have a couple of things I would like to highlight. The first one is from licensing and service enablement perspective. Make sure that you have enabled Entra Suite trial license. If you haven't enabled it already, or if you don't have the license as well, you can do that by going to aka.ms/Entra Suite trial. And after that, start by enabling Microsoft 365 traffic forwarding profile. This helps you to allow access to Microsoft 365 services, and also you can do that using conditional access policy to allow that access from compliant networks. So this ensures that you are protecting your users from attacks like token theft and token replay attacks. And then start exploring scenarios that allowing users to access the services and the applications securely. So for example, you can think of scenarios like allowing users to access specific websites for a certain period of time after they submitted an access request using access package. With that, we've seen this, by the way, in our demo today. So with that, we will bring the power of Microsoft Internet Access with Microsoft Identity Governance. And on top of that, you can allow users to access those websites and those services if they are not in risk. So this gives you the power of using as well Microsoft Intra Identity Protection. And you can go beyond that, and you can allow users to access websites after they prove their identities using Microsoft Verified ID. So the most important thing that we would like to highlight here is that when thinking about Microsoft Entra Suite, keep in mind having all Microsoft products in your mind, because they are designed to work together in a great integrated way. And lastly, we do highly recommend checking our Entra Suite development scenario by visiting aka.ms Entra Suite development. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to also just highlight that there's a lot of really cool innovation happening in this area. You've seen so many cool videos today about all the new features that lit up previously, but a lot of you might feel, oh, where do I begin? What do I need to do now? You know about the trial. That's one way to begin. But if you really want to get started, we also want to just share the Entra Suite workshop. The Entra Suite workshop is another tool that we have available that helps you to plan your deployment. So if you go to this aka.ms/Entra Suite workshop link, it will give you a spreadsheet that will take you through the steps of deploying everything in the Entra Suite. So we've got it down to details that you need to go and do step by step so that you can fully utilize the Entra Suite, and you can create a plan and you can decide what you want to do, what you want to focus on first. Everything is laid out for you, so please check that out.
And just to add to Mohammed and Martin, these next 12 months are going to be pivotal for Microsoft Entra Internet Access. I mean, really exciting innovation coming to the product, and I think you will all be really stoked to try it out. And if you're really ready to get started, we have a aka.ms/quick start internet access, where you can get an overview of some common FAQs, overview of the product and our key capabilities that we highlighted today, and it'll get you on your way to securing internet access.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. And thanks again, everyone, for joining. This was the last session of the Microsoft Entra Suite Summer Camp. But if you missed any of the previous sessions, those will be available on demand. So you can go back and watch those. And with that, if you do have any other questions that come to mind, feel free to leave them in the comments and we will follow up offline. If not, we'll say thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Mohammed, Martin, and Vincent, for this super fun campfire side chat. And yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.